All right, good afternoon, everyone. So where did we stop? I think we are done with basic bash scripting. Do we have any question? And I want to believe that we all got that the last one before we left that day, right? So by next week, by the grace of God, we'll have our first test just to examine us to know whether we are doing well. Those of you that missed some classes, this young man, you have not been coming. You miss classes without informing anybody. What they did on your behalf, have you consulted them while you were waiting for me? Is that not what you are supposed to be doing? All right, so like we have already established before, that we have to learn at least two or the most as one of the scripting language. They want to look at Python basis. So you write introduction to Python basis. So we are just looking at their basis. So which means that those of you that want to really go far with any of this individually, you can come back and register for Python language purely. We have the program here. So what is Python? Python is one of the most utilized scripting language. Python is one of the most utilized scripting language in ethical hacking. And as we proceed, we'll get to know why is the most utilized. When we say the most utilized, it means it's the most used. In the hacking community, just complete that note. The most utilized scripting language in the hacking community. So hardly you come across any cybersecurity experts that specialize in ethical hacking that would have not talked about Python. Additional notes to that, this is due to its simplicity and power. So why is Python the most used? It's due to its simplicity and power. That is why you notice today, even outside cybersecurity, most people that are going into programming these days, which language did you know that they are considering most? Python. The reason is that Python is connected to almost every major tech domain as we are talking. So if you learn Python very well, it means you have done, let's say, 10 to 50%, 10 to 50% of data analytics is applied there, or in data science. In web development, Python is also applied there through the use of a framework called the Django. So just call any professional tech domain today that is trending. You can see the trace of what? Python contributing. So that is why it's the most used. Very simple language that the mode of speaking that language is almost the same thing with English language. The people that will have issue with Python is people that do not understand how to speak English, because Python look like English language. Very simple. Now, still gathering more fat. Note, right? Python is very easy to pick up and knowing how it works. Python is very easy to pick up and knowing how it works, and knowing how it works for you as an ethical hacker, and knowing how it works will help you drastically will help you drastically in your ethical hacking career. So one of the reason now I'm narrowing it to our own application now. Why are we learning Python as cybersecurity experts? Why are we learning Python? Is wrapped in the next note I'm going to give you now. The next note, right? Since a large majority of the exploits underline the word exploits. Since a large majority of exploits are written in Python. So what it means is that hacking itself is the art of penetrating into what? System. Whether it is what? Authorized or what? Unauthorized. That's the simple meaning of what? Hacking. Now, when we now ethical hacking, it means that what? The authorized what? Hacking. When we now have the unethical hacking, it means the unauthorized what? Breaking into people. Is not the main aim of, but it's not even the main, it's not even the main, not even the aim of what? This entire training. I've told us before that this training is what? Can anybody remember? Is it offensive training or defensive training? Offensive, defensive, right? Okay, so you are expected to, you are having all this knowledge so that you can perform pen tests or pen testing on company system just to ascertain whether their systems are what? Are vulnerable or large majority of what exploit. The word exploit, let's quickly note it down because I'll be using this term very often as I continue with the training. Exploit. Or let me test our memory whether we know what is called exploit before now. What is an exploit? That terms you need to deal with. Exploit. Yes, you are correct. Let's put it down in correct context. Exploit is any pieces of software that is used to take advantage of vulnerable what? System. So when a system is vulnerable, that's what the system is there are flaws. The system has loopholes. So the bad guys, what they do is to send what? To launch what? Exploit. Now that exploit can be a malicious what? Software that once it gets to your system and then it begins to feed them information that they will use to what? To steal information from the system. And that is why we have to be very careful when we are break into your system. So what are you supposed to, as general public, when somebody send you a link, whether it's a WhatsApp link, you are supposed to check for the what? Authentication of that what? Link. You are supposed to verify. Although there are some that mere clicking on the link will not give them access to hack you. But do you know what they are looking for? As we go on, you get to know. once the what we call reconnaissance or record NG is a technology which is used to what? I can gather information from that system using the what? The record NG, but the any cybersecurity what tips. You don't need to even learn this program because you want to work. You knowing your left and right when you are working within the internet is a major thing. I know that there's nobody that cannot be scammed on the internet, no matter, because where your knowledge stop is where another person stop. But it's very easy for you to scam me. I'm not saying you should go and try me. So I want to explain. I don't know if I'm explaining. In programming, you see, every language have their what familiar what terms. You know. In programming, generally, whenever a programmer use the word syntax, can anybody tell us what is that person saying? As I mentioned syntax now, if you know it, you know what I'm talking about. What is syntax in programming? The formats, the mode of speaking that language. And once you deviate from it, you are bound to get what? Error. And you know, there are some of us that do not know how to obey rules when they are coding. The language says that these are the simple syntax you have to follow. If you follow this syntax, you will not have error. And not that they have debugging skill, but they know how to generate errors as if they want to go and sell them. When you know you don't know how to debug, then you minimize error. You try to follow the rule. So one of the reasons why you see that everybody today is Python, not because it can do everything than the old language, but because people are found out it has a very simple word, rules. And you know, let me not call it country, not just this country. People, there's a country where people don't like following principle. They just want to get things anyhow. So it's like that in programming language. Any language you are learning, understand the rules of that language. When you follow the rule, you go far. But when you try to bypass the rule, you will be what? Fed with what? Errors. And those errors can consume you. You know how they consume you? To make the program to be difficult, you run away, you dump it. If you are paying money, you just disappear. They'll be calling you, where are you now? You don't know that the debugging is too much. So Python is very simple. That's why even primary school students today now, if you go to secondary school now, what language are they learning? Python. To build calculator, to build apps. Because at their level, their brain can carry it. If you go and take secondary school students now, Java, not JavaScript, to Java or JavaScript, that means you want to make them to forget all the chemistry and the physics that they are learning. So syntax, let's put it in the right definition. Syntax, not just Python. Anywhere you get syntax programming, it means what? Set of rules that governs the language. Coding. Set of rules that governs the language, what? Coding. And we all know that coding means what? Writing what? Instructions, isn't it? Coding means writing instructions. So when you are writing a program, syntax means what? The rules that governs the way you should write your code. So under the Python basic syntax, now we know what syntax is. Number one, Python scripts in Linux always start with, let me go to PowerPoint. You know, what is the basic syntax of Bash? Because the equivalent of it is what I want to show us in Python. What is the basic syntax? So we have the one of Python. The one of Python is what I want to write it so that we will be able to see. Python what? Scripts in Linux always start with, that's what I want to write now. Always start with exclamation mark USR slash B slash Python. So as a case, in the case of Bash, what was it? What's the difference? It just that base of USR was what? Bash. No, B slash what? Bash. But this one we have, so this is, so by the time we start creating file now with our editor, we must always start what? With this line. That is what we are saying. So another part about it, note, to declare a variable, remember we talked about variable, right? Who can remind us again, what is a variable program? A container that holds what? Value within the program what? Memory.
Okay. To declare a variable, you will write variable name equals to declare a variable, you are going to write variable name equals to variable what? Name equals to value. You see that one thing I understand about programming languages from the one I know, PHP, Java, JavaScript, Python. I noticed that when it comes to variable, they are almost the same. They are almost the same, just little differences. In Bash, this was the system also now, right? We have the variable name, we have the equals to represent what? What is it called in programming? Assignment operator, right? You know, we have different operator. Just because it's basic, that's why I did not really go deep. If I'm teaching us Python fully, we will spend like a month. We are still learning the basic. So under operator, we have assignment operator, we have logical operators, we have arithmetic operators. We have so many of them. So what that equal sign means is what? An assignment. That is what is used to give value to what? Or to dump the value in the container. Just like the pipe that is piping the value into the container. So that is one thing you should know. Another fact about it. To access a variable, you will write the variable name. To access a variable in Python, you simply write what? The variable name. Now, somebody should tell me what is the difference between accessing a variable in Bash and what? Accessing variable in Python. What is the difference? We're not adding dollar. Good. We are not adding dollar sign. Because they will think that is dollar money. We are not adding what? Dollar sign to it. That is all. So the next part, before we go for the application, the next part about Python basis is the next one, to print something out. To print something out on the screen, you will write prints in Python. To print something out on the screen, you will write print followed by the parentheses word bracket, and then what you want to print. Let's say it's text. You say what text that you want to print here. To print something out in Python, you will write this. Not saying very well. You will write what? Print. Now, for me to quote that particular text, what type of data do I intend to print? String. Good. We are becoming programmers gradually. So now, let's quickly go and practicalize before we look at what? Functions. I think that was how we did in Bash, right? So let's go to our development environment, which is our Linux terminal. What is file of what? PI, right? Let's say I want to work with variable of the VI var dot what? Python. And then so that will open Linux what? Text editor. Now, what is the process again? What mode is this editor? What mode? Reading mode, right? Now to switch to writing mode, what do? I'll type what? Letter I, and then I can now start typing. What did I say about variable? You start with what? The name of the variable, right? Okay, so the same thing, we can still use a comment. Now, but before that, sorry, the first is to follow that standard. That if you are creating Python file, you must start with what? Hash, right? Exclamation mark, slash what? USR, slash bin, slash what? Python. That was the standard. So I will go down. Then I'm creating a variable. I'll simply say, okay, let's say what? Variable name is equals to. Now, this variable is storing what? Text. So I'll quote it also. So I'll say what? Welcome to my ethical hacking. Ethical hacking what? Training. Then you end the quotation. Now, to access variable, what did I say? How do you print variable? How do you print variables? You say what? Print, right? Brackets. You supply the name of the variable. Because I've already captured the word, the string in a variable, right? Name, and then I will close it. All right. Now, how do I save it and go back to the terminal to output? Escape, then column, right? W for write, Q for what? Quit, and then you press enter. Now we quickly change it to what? We change it to what? Editable what? Mode. With what code? CH what? Mode, right? Plus CH mode plus X followed by the name, which is what? Var dot what? Pi. Am I communicating? And then now, what do we do now? Can somebody help? Or what's the next thing? By now, all these text should have been in your memory. I want to output that which we wrote there. I want to display it in the terminal. Dot slash. That is what? Var dot what? Pi. I mean, so what do we have there? Do we have any? It's saying that what? No such what? Pi. No such file. One comma. Okay, thank you. Thank you, because you are close here. That's why I want to see it. I'm going to ask you something next time. So dots and then var dots. So what did we get now? Welcome to us. You are ethical hacking. Oh yeah, let me wait for everybody to achieve that before I proceed. So that is just how to work with variables.
Let's do some calculation with Python just to prove to us that Python can perform arithmetic calculation. So let me leave this. Let's create a I am printing X, then putting the plus sign inside, plus what? Plus Z. So let me commit by escaping, follow, right, and X. What is the name? Car. Has been done. What we expect to output here is what? The addition of those two words value. So I'll simply do dot slash the name, which is 100 and what? 90. Go back to the VI. We will let everybody perform that.
Python function, just like we did for bash. Python function.
Python function. Right. To create function in Python. Sorry. To create function in Python. Starts with the definition keyword, e.g. def, followed by the function name. So copy this syntax. That def, you must start with that def each time you want to declare function in Python, which means what? Function definition. Then followed by whatever name you want to give, and then the parentheses brackets, just like that bash. And then the calling, the calling is not here. You just put what? Column, like this. You know, the other one, bash, we've added what? That calling what? Brackets. Then what would the function do? Python is concerned with indentation. Look up. You see, the indentation is that as you press enter here, the next line of code must not start from here. If you shift this cursor here now, it's going to throw error. So the indentation is that it should come down like this and leave paragraph space like this. Python, that is one of the weaknesses of Python. They don't know how to manage indentation. It's like you maintaining that order. So let's say, what will the function display? You print it. If it is a string, you put it in what? The quotation. So let's say what? Welcome. And then you end it, and then finally you close it. So write this like as the first one. I say what? To create a function in Python, you write this. Def is the keyword, followed by the function name, and then the parentheses, then followed by what the function will print out. The next note, to call a function in Python, simply call the name of the function. What is the name of the function here now? Just what? Function what? Name. So you just call this function name with the bracket like this. You know, I told us that function must be called before they can react. So now let's still add more notes. There's still another fact here. Right, to create a function that takes in an argument. So we are going to create two different functions. To create a function that takes in arguments like this. You can see that this function is a function without argument because you left what? This place empty. Let me see if I can increase it. So anytime a function is declared with this bracket and nothing is added inside here, is a function without what? An argument. Now, if you add anything here, let's say what? Name now. This is a function that receives what? Argument. That is the note I'm giving you now. Right. To create a function that takes in an argument, write this line. And then you put argument inside, just to know that whatever that comes in there is called argument. Just write from here, only the highlighted list you write to represent that statement. No def, just to, you can add the but it's just part of it that I'm explaining. Then I think I should just write it. Now, the printing, when you are printing, so in fact, write the whole of this. Write everything I've highlighted, both the function, both what is printing. But here, it is the argument that you now print. It is the argument that you now print. We'll see the practical of all this. It is the argument that you now print. You pass the argument here, and then you print what? The argument. Now let's look at the normal function. Let's go to our development environment, the terminal, the Linux term. Let's start with the file. So I will say VIFNC. I know I have function there, but you can type your VI what? Function. Then dot py just to create the file. Then switch my editor to writing mode by pressing letter I, and then observe the Python basic syntax, which is what? Hash, right? Exclamation mark /usr/bin, then /Python. Now, to declare the function, I'll say what? DE what? F. Once it changes to this color, you know that what is a keyword. Then with space, followed by the function name. Let's say the function name is name, and then I'll create what? The bracket, because this is an empty function. So I will just put the column. This was the syntax I gave to you. Now, you just declare a function. What will this function print? You now say, okay, this function print, let's say print a string. If it's a string, then you put it in quotes. So print my name. My name, let's say my name is. So I didn't even have stored the name in a global variable outside the function. I will have just called the variable like we did for. So I'll just say Musa, and then close the string, and then close the bracket. All right. Now, once you have done that, remember I said you have to call the function with what? The name, which means that what? I will just call what? Name bracket, right? To call the matter. The function calling should align with what? The function definition. Are you getting it? So I'll say what? Name, and then open it like this. So after this, I have to add the here. In fact, that is not it. Now, let's take this one example of Python. I said one is a function without what? Arguments, and one is a function with what? Arguments. That one is a function without argument. So the example 2, let's be on the same page. The example 2 is creating a function with arguments. Function with arguments. Example 2. A function is an argument. So let's look at this. I'll just create a different file. That is fnc2.p. Then switch into writable mode, and then observe the Python basic exclamation mark /usr/bin slash Python. I'll start with the definition again. Def, the name of the function, for example, is name. It's name, and then the bracket. This bracket we have to what name there. So you can see just what is going to happen. Now that name that we put there is like a variable that we have declared without assigning value. You will now pass the value when you are calling it. Just watch it, because that is, then we put this here. Then our print, watch out, print. What are we printing? I'm printing string and the variable. So I'll say what? My name is, so this is where the string ends. So the string will close here. Then I'll bring in what? Plus what? Name. So this name that you call here is the what? The argument name. Before you close the what? The print function, bracket down. Now the next one is to call. Remember I said always take it to what? To the proper index. Now, remember I said to call a function, you just call the name with empty what? Bracket, right? But because we have a function with an argument that have not received value, so as I'm going to call the name now, so I'll just say what? Name. So instead of me leaving it blank, I'll say what? That name that I want to give is a string, right? So I'll put it in quote, crossbar. And then also put it there, end it. So now let me explain what is happening here. Look up here. What happened here is that it's like you declare a variable without assigning what value. With the intention that when you are printing, that's where you send the name. So what is happening here is that this is where you are sending the name into what? The argument. So that's why I said the argument will be seen as a variable without putting a value. So during calling the function, you pass in the variable value. All right. So now the next thing is for us to save. And to save, what do we do? We escape, right? And then colon, right, and quit. Now to change to executable mode, ch mode, then plus x followed by the name, which is fnc2.py. Right now to access the function value dot slash fnc2.py, and then we get it. My name is what? Prosper. Look that we are able to print it. So this is how to write function with what? Argument. So write this topic down. In the next class, I will continue with capturing user input in Python. You know, we did it in Bash, right? So look at it in Python. Write it down, the topic, capturing user input in Python. So we are going to start from there in our next class.